Hush is a short 2D narrative exploration game in which you play as a curious kid in the 1960s, slowly uncovering the truth that your parents are so afraid of as they try to distract you with toys and games. Hush was developed by students at Rochester Institute of Technology through Echoes, a project based course which is all about making community inspired games that are small, personal, and deeply human. My goals coming into the project were to practice and refine my skills as a composer, as well as get more experience creating a song from an intended vibe. This is a spoiler warning for Hush. This video goes into detail about the 5 songs I made for Hush, my goals for each one, how I made them, and some audio design techniques I used along the way. If you haven't played the game already, you can play for free in any browser using the link below. It's a cool little 5-minute experience and gives some more context for the behind the scenes musical composition stuff I'll be talking about. Speaking of musical composition stuff, let's take a look at the main menu track called Hush Main Theme. I know, very creative. Funnily enough, this track was actually the last track I created of the 5 tracks. The song loops in the background of the main menu and is meant to introduce the themes of the game, that being curiosity for an obscure truth. I took inspiration from the main menu theme for Slime Rancher 2, which features a very slow and drawn-out piano rendition of the main theme from the first Slime Rancher game. The rest of the Hush team and I felt that the gameplay track was a good interpretation of the vibes of the game. So I essentially made the main menu theme a more stripped-down version of the gameplay theme, featuring a more drawn-out version of the main melody. You may also notice a constant gas noise in the background of the song. I'll go into more detail about the intention and design of the sound in the next chapter. This song plays in the background while the player explores the house. To follow along with the game's main theme of dark realities of the world slowly being revealed, I added a constant noise in the background which mimics the sound of gas escaping from a tube. To take this sound a step further, I used a technique to fit this sound within the key of the rest of the song. White noise can be thought of as a sound that contains a ton of frequencies within the hearable range. We can see this when we view white noise through a visual equalizer. By lowering the volume of other frequencies within the white noise range and increasing the volume around an arbitrary frequency, we can highlight said specific frequency. This makes the white noise sound less static and more gaseous. This sound design creates a motif for truth slowly escaping, as the sound mimics that of gas escaping from the aforementioned tube. I also wanted to make this song feel as though it was playing on a radio in the background, while your playable character explores the house. This was done using another equalizer that takes out the low and high frequencies of the entire track, just like an old radio does. You'll probably notice that the name of this track is a part of the name of the game Hide and Seek, and I'll explain why later. This song plays when you play the Patty Cake minigame. This track was one of the hardest to make for me, and I ended up restarting the project twice while making it. The Patty Cake minigame sees the player hitting the paws of their favorite stuffed bear in time with the visuals on screen. I wanted to make a song that fit this rhythm so that players could more easily time their hits. So I put a heavy emphasis on the downbeats to really stress the steady, regular rhythm of the minigame. I also wanted to give the song a sense of rising intensity to make players feel that they are progressing throughout the minigame. To do this, I made it so that around half of the song is spent rising towards the ending crescendo. Unlike the gameplay track, I wanted to make this song feel like it was made up by the player character and is playing in their head as they play with their toy bear, hence its childlike goofiness and lack of the aforementioned gas motif. Fun fact, the main character's name is Robin, as their design was inspired by Robin's design from Batman. As such, their favorite toy bear, the one who you play patty cake with, is aptly named Robin, as in Bear Robin. This song plays during all of the drawing minigames. Much like the previous track, this one features a goofy aesthetic and does not include the gas motif, as it is meant to be made up in the head of the player character. Unlike the previous track, I had a much easier time making this one, as I felt that I got a hang of that silly and fun style by this point in development. This style fits very well with the whimsical nature of both the patty cake and the drawing minigames. The goal of emphasizing this childlike wonder is to juxtapose the more serious undertones of the game. This minigame especially exemplifies this via the different iterations of the drawing minigame. In the second and third instances of the minigame, Robin draws on newspapers featuring information and thoughts about the Cuban Missile Crisis, which, surprise, is the aforementioned truth that the parents are so afraid of. This song plays during the climactic hide-and-seek minigame, in which Robin plays hide-and-seek with her parents and decides to hide in the basement they are banned from entering. It is in this basement that the player comes to realize that Robin's parents have created a bomb shelter in case the US is attacked. This one has got to be my favorite track of them all. I am a big fan of Pizza Tower and the Splatoon franchise, both of which feature an intense and climactic song that plays during the countdown sequence at the end of each level and match, respectively. I was inspired by these songs and the 30-second timer of the hide and seek minigame and set out to create a song that would match the rising tension of the minigame and the greater narrative of the entire game. This song is a faster, more intense version of the gameplay track and features the aforementioned gas noise to continue the motif of truth escaping and becoming known. The frantic tone and rising tension of the track are meant to take the previous gameplay track and transform it into something much more scary. Even the title of the song is meant to reference the gameplay track, with the title being Go Seek, seeing as both use the exact same instruments, gas motif, similar chords and melodies, and general tone. However, Hide and is a more intense, faster, and is a lot shorter. In all, this project challenged me to grow as a video game composer, as I got to practice taking a set vibe and turning it into a supporting track for a part of the game. I also got to grow as a sound designer, as I had to try to come up with cool new techniques to achieve this vibe. One of the biggest challenges I faced was trying to get the digital instruments that I was using to sound like real life instruments. For every track in Hush, I used preset synths to mimic instruments, to help match the acoustic sound of the early 1960s. These digital instruments made iteration very easy, but also almost always sounded extremely fake when compared to their real life counterparts. I was able to get around this by adding a ton of subtle random variation to the volumes and timings of the digital instruments, which made them sound a lot more human and therefore more real. I also had a blast working on the project with the Hush development team and the rest of the Echoes team. I highly recommend checking out Hush on the Echoes website. It takes around 5 minutes to complete and is completely free. You can also check out the other great games made through Echoes there. Thanks for watching.